Hello everyone, good morning. This is Joshna from final year CSC in Adishankara Institute of Technology. Today I am here to discuss about the transaction flow testing. Introduction. A transaction is a unit of work seen from a system user's point of view. A transaction consists of a sequence of operations, some of which are performed by a system, persons, or devices that are outside of the system. Transaction begins with birth, that is, that they are created as a result of some external act. At the conclusion of the transaction processing, the transaction is no longer in the system. A transaction for an online information retrieval system might consist of the following steps or follows: accept input, tentative birth, valid input, transmit, no, acknowledge to requester, do input processing, search file, request directions from user, accept into input, valid input, request processor, update file, transmit output, record transaction in log and cleanup. Most online systems processes many kinds of transaction. Example: ATM, automatic bank teller machine. An automatic bank teller machine can be used for withdrawal, deposits, bill payments, money transfers. Transaction flow graphs. Transaction flows are introduced as a representation of a system's processing. The method that we are applied to control flow graphs are then used for functional testing. Transaction flow testing are to be independent system tested. What control flows or path testing is to the programmer. The transaction flow graph is to create a behavioral model of the program that leads to functional testing. The transaction flow graph is a model of the structure of the system's behavior functionality. An example of a transaction flow is as follows. Here the figure is an example for the transaction flow. Usage. In that we use transaction flows are indispensable for specifying requirements of complicated systems, especially online systems. A big system such as an air traffic control or airline reservation system has not hundred but thousands of different transactions flows. The flows are represented by relatively simple flow graphs, many of which have a single straight through path. Loops are infrequent compared to control flow graphs. The most common loop is used to request a retry after user input errors. An ATM system, for example, allows the user to try saying 3 times and will take the card away the fourth time. Complications. In simple case, the transactions have a unique identity from the time they are created to the time they are completed. In many systems, the transaction can give birth to others and transactions also merge. List of complications. There are two categories: births and mergers. Births means discussion, biosis, mitosis. Mergers means ordinary junction, absorption, conjugation. Births, there are three different possible interpretations of the decision symbol or nodes with two or more outlinks. It can be decision, biosis, or mitosis. Decision, here the transaction will take one alternate or the other alternate but not both. Biosis, here the incoming transaction gives birth to new transaction and both transactions continue on their separate paths and the parent retains its identity. Mitosis, here the parent transaction is destroyed and two new transactions are created. As shown in figure, we know decision, biosis and mitosis. Decision is alternative 1 and alternative 2. Biosis is parent and daughter. But in mitosis, parent is equal to daughter and daughter. Merges, transaction flow junctions points are potentially as troublesome as transaction flow splits. There are three types of junctions: ordinary junction, absorption, conjugation. Ordinary junction, an ordinary junction which is similar to the junction in a control flow graph. A transaction can arrive either on one link or the other. Absorption. In absorption case, the predator transaction absorbs prey transaction. The prey gone but the predator retains its identity. Conjugation. In conjugation case, the two parent transaction merge to form a new daughter in keeping the biological favor. In this case is called conjugative. Let's see the figure that shows transaction flow junctions and mergers. Figure A shows junction and figure B shows absorption and figure C shows conjugation. We have no problem with ordinary decisions and junctions, but absorptions and conjugations are as problematic for the software designer as they are for the software modeler and the test designer. As a consequence, such points such more than their share of bugs. The common problems are lost daughters, wrongful deaths, and illegitimate births. That's all. Here, the transaction flow testing techniques get the transaction flows, inspections, reviews, and walkthroughs, path selection, path sensitization, path instrumentation, design and maintain test database, test execution. These are the testing techniques in transaction flow control. That's all. Thank you for giving this wonderful opportunity to me.